Naga Students Federation laga Inner Line Regulation Committee Pradi Dimapur, Chumukitima or Newland District laga Deputy Commissioner Kanye Inner Line Regulation Implementation Korea laga course opor sawal kurigina jawab mangishe. IB details sabo.
Nagaland State Government bra Tinta District Dimapur Chumukitima aro Newland District te ILP implementation kurubule order itu 27 May 2025 te order ula pichite mohan alop agedin de joa kali hoile bi itu ILP checking tu hoile exercise tu hoile kurigana aha laga ase aro itu opor bi itia deputy commissioner la office te ILP cell bi kuligana online mode te hi itu ILP registration du kurigana aha laga ase aro aji mohan jani paise Inner Line Regulation Commission itu Nsf laga aji Tinta district laga deputy commissioner ke representation itu submit kurigana kinika ILP implementation kan bi kurigana jalaga ase itu opportunity bi takan ekta sawal digana takan laga jawab bi lobole koi ase aro mohan aji yate DNSU laga office te aina ase takan itu memorandum submit kura pichite itia yate press conference lobole ase aro takan itu memorandum submit kura la opportunity ki kobo ki step lobole ase itu bi mohan itia press conference salobo.
The Naga Student Federation have decided to submit a separate memorandum to the three DCs, namely Dimapur, Chumukitima, and Newland, because we consider these three districts as a very important district in so far as the implementation and the enforcement of Inner Line Regulation is concerned. We also do not overlook the fact that in the rest of the district, the implementation of ILP is not satisfactory. However, we have decided to have this surgical approach to these particular three districts because we consider that these three districts are the breeding zone for all the influx of outsiders coming to Nagaland. And we also consider that if proper enforcement of Inner Line Regulation is done in these three districts, we expect that major part of the enforcement problem will be solved. Therefore, we have submitted representation to the Deputy Commissioners of Dimapur and Chumukitima. We have been trying to contact the DC of Newland. However, for the last many days, we have not been able to contact her, and so far we have not been able to submit the representation to her. Therefore, given the opportunity that we have already submitted the memorandum to these two DCs, which I'm sure it is already with you, we have elaborately mentioned as well as penned down our contention in the memorandum. In fact, we are said to say that the influx of outsiders, non-Nagas, who have taken residence in Dimapur are controlling the economy of the whole state. Our memorandum is very clear that because of the hospitable nature of the Nagas, many people from outside comes and take advantage, and instead of becoming respectable guests, many of them have decided and have started behaving like a host. Therefore, we are very firm to state that those outsiders who comes under the purview of Inner Line Regulation cannot and should no longer shy away from this Inner Line pass system. And now, we also ask the government, since they have already declared Dimapur, Newland, and Chumukitima to come under the purview of the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873. We want that systematic implementation must be done in these 3 districts. Nobody should be allowed to misuse this regulation, and we will not allow any lackadaisical attitude on the part of the administration, on the part of the enforcing agency to relax. We assert that the cut-off year should be 1963, 1st December, where Nagaland was granted a state within the Constitution of India. We are not here to prevent anybody or any non-Nagas coming to Nagaland. We are not here to stop them from coming to Nagaland. At the same time, we also want to send a message to those people who comes to Nagaland that they must respect the existing laws, the existing regulations, without which they will be deemed defaulters, and existing laws should be imposed on them. Henceforth, the Naga Student Federation, which has been championing the rigid and stringent enforcement of inner line regulation, will not be cowed down by any threats, by any forces, and we are very firm to ensure that the inner line regulation is implemented in letter and spirit. In fact, as far as the NSF is concerned, it is not a new thing. Even as late as 1978-79, NSF had submitted a representation to the government of Nagaland. Had the government of Nagaland heeded to those representations, the situation would have been far different from what is happening or for what is being seen today. Therefore, we are here not to oppose the government, we are here not to confront the government, but we are here to assist the government to create an awareness, let people understand that Nagaland is not a common state. It is a unique state born out of movement which is the Naga political movement, and it should be treated a unique state, and we want that people coming from outside must respect and must adhere to the uniqueness and to the existing system of Nagaland state. Out of the 9-point representation that we have submitted to the deputy commissioners, I would particularize one point, that is those outsiders who used to come to these 3 districts in the morning and they used to leave in the evening. We are even concerned for those people. There will be no exemptions. Everybody will have to be under the radar of the existing inner line regulations. We have made it very clear to the deputy commissioners that they should come out with a mechanism to deal with these people who comes only for a day. So we are going to be very minute, and we will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the implementation of this inner line regulation succeeds in its fullest form. As far as we are concerned, the government is for the people, by the people and of the people. And in many ways, the government also can be awakened by the voice of the people. And we hope and believe that the voice of the people will surely overwhelm the government to respond to the demand, to the call of the situation. And today's situation is such that the future of the Nagas are at threat. We are going to be a servant. We are going to be slaves in our own land. If you look at the economy of the state, nobody will be surprised if they are told that more than 95% of the shop establishment in these three districts are controlled by outsiders, because it is on the ground. And it is because there is no stringent implementation of the ILP system. The economy is in the hands of the outsiders. The development that is being done by Nagaland state is for outsiders. I'm sure Nagaland government will be awakened, because today we are confident that the Naga people have decided to awaken and have decided that the future of Nagaland's economy must come into the hands of the indigenous citizens of the state. There are always two sides of the same coin. Sometimes, if the system is not conducive for the local people, it is exploited by non-local people. The Nagaland government has created such a system that is not conducive for the local people, for which non-locals have taken advantage of that. Therefore, we are asking that the system should be made conducive for the local people, so that the local people can avail the advantage of taking the economy into our own hands. See, as far as Naga political movement is concerned, these are the other side of the aspect insofar as the inner line regulation issue is concerned. We cannot mix coffee and tea because it will be too bitter. Therefore, that is another area which the NSF has been addressing it, and the NSF will address it not on a wholesome issue, on a wholesome approach, but the NSF is already taking its own approach ever since it was formed, and the system of approach that the NSF has been doing with Naga political group will continue. The Inner Line Commission was formed just about 3 months back. We are yet to start a journey on that. Surely we will embark on that and we will do our own assessment, because without that assessment, it will also not be very clear for our approach to be systematic. I'm very happy that the press people are following up the course of the commission, and I'm happy that the memorandum that has been submitted to national government is in your knowledge. We have submitted it on 4th of April. 2 months is going to be lapsed. So after some time, we will surely send a reminder to the government on the action taken upon it. And of course, the reminder and the response of the Nagaland government will give us a clarity as to what steps can be taken for further necessary action. Particularly, there can be no main reason, no less reasons, because ILP is the reason itself. Therefore, our agenda is that, particularly in these 3 districts, the enforcement should be more rigid, more regimental, and certain different approach also has to be done in these 3 districts, which may not be in uniformity with the other districts. That is why we have decided to make this surgical approach on these 3 districts. NSF actually is very particular about human rights violation. Therefore, the question that you have asked is a matter of human rights violation. People who are justly staying in Nagaland and who are actually exempted from the purview of the ILP should never be discriminated. And if such cases are there, and if such cases are found, we request them to directly approach us. If not, the office of Dimapur Naga Sunsun, the office of Dibobar Naga Sunsun, they are readily available, and we will surely ensure that injustice is not committed in the name of the enforcement of ILP. If we look at international borders, although there are electric wire fencings, yet infiltration takes place. No matter how much the amount of strictness that you may enforce, certainly infiltrators will be there. However, our desire is that no efforts should be kept in hand to ensure that the borders are well checked, the borders are well manned. That is why in our memorandum, we have already mentioned that dedicated enforcing personnels should be made available specifically for enforcement of this ILP. They should be oriented, they should be sensitized, so that they don't discriminate people coming from outside. In fact, we want that ILP issue, the kind of pass given to outsiders coming to Nagaland should not have unnecessary hindrance. There should be an ease of getting the pass. There should be no unnecessary harassment. So we are very definite that once the government wakes up for the enforcement, we are aware that there will be challenges. And the more the challenge, the more we get awakened to find out a solution. We know that stringent enforcement of this ILP surely will also create ramifications. Those ramifications will be an eye-opener for us to ensure that a solution is found. And we're ready to assist the government in that aspect. Amagan laga stando yatiki paper de likhi na se NSF to ito laga stando itya nutun kwa laga noy muy kwa nishna 19 late 70s para amagan laga stando ito ase aro itui amagan laga stand hobo even in near future also. Yes, as far as ILP is concerned, it is not. Yes, it is not a collective. It's not a collective pass. It's an individual pass. Therefore, a pass has to be one-to-one basis. Whether it is a student or whether it's children with family, every individual must have a separate inner line pass, in so long as they are not exempted from the purview of these regulations. And today, let me also tell you that in our meeting with the two deputy commissioners, we're happy that the two TCs also, they are also embarking on sensitizing the non-Nagas who are within the purview of the inner land pass. We are also in favor of the fact that since this is an initial process, we don't want any harsh penalty, we don't want any kind of stringent regulation in its fullest to be imposed on those defaulters. We are very happy that the two TCs are actually deputing their own officers to sensitize the people. Because although the enforcement of this inner line regulation has been there since 1963, yet because of the lackadaisical nature of the enforcement, many people are not aware of the system. So we don't want any victimization. We don't want any innocent non-Nagas to be harassed. So we're happy that the deputy commissioners are also taking the sensitization exercise, and gradually, after people have been sensitized, surely the full force of the law will come into effect. See, amakan yade Nagaland ILP enforcement ase. Amakan Arunachal de Chalibi, amakan bi ILP logo lage. Kile mana amakan Arunachal de Chashikule, amakan to Indian citizen hoy. To tade Arunachal manu yade ILP, taigan bi ILP logo lage. Ami Mizoram jaile do ILP loy. Amakan ki saigena Mizo ase koigena ILP na mangilebi, ami do ILP loigena jai. Itiabi ami Mizoram de 19 times jaise, sob record ase ami ILP loy. Eto garne, wherever you may be, when you entered a state that comes under the purview of the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, you have to abide by their system and follow their system. So similarly, anybody coming to Nagaland who are not indigenous inhabitants are required to obtain inner line pass. The period of sensitization must be very reasonable. Enough time must be given for this sensitization. However, it cannot be indefinite. There will come a time when the people will feel that sensitization has been done to a reasonable extent. And from that stage, as I said, the full force of the law must take place.
To itu ase ajilaga press conference inner line regulation committee itu NSF kan pra agede khwanis na itu tinta district Chumukitima Dimapur aro Newland district te itu ILP implement kurigna ahanis na systematic implementation tu kurigna jawo lage aro itu oportibi strictly itu system de aro administration kan hoilebi itu tagan ke discriminate na kurigna kinika itu ILP tu hoile age loi jabo kinika check kurbo itu kurubure laga oporte hi tinta administration ke bi tagan itu memorandum submit kurigna taiga laga jawab bi itia rukhya laga ase itu oporte bi moan aro update kuri thakibo ajini mane ase moi adenare with camera person Joy Watch for Hornbill TV Dimapur.